Most people walk through life thinking they are fully in control, making conscious choices, chasing goals, building relationships, yet deep beneath the surface an invisible force silently dictates their every step. This force is not fate, it's not bad luck, it is the hidden part of you, your unconscious patterns, unresolved wounds and forgotten memories that you've buried, denied or avoided. Until you bring awareness to what lives in the dark, you'll keep repeating the same cycles and calling it destiny. True freedom isn't found in changing your outer world, it begins by turning inward and facing what's been controlling you all along. If you've ever wondered why you keep sabotaging yourself, attracting the same pain or feeling stuck in cycles you don't understand, this message is for you. It's time to uncover the invisible part of you and finally reclaim your life from the shadows within. Most people believe they are the author of their own life, that the choices they make are conscious and deliberate, based on logic, reasoning and personal desire. But the truth is far more complex and hidden. The majority of your life is not driven by conscious decisions but by subconscious programs that run silently in the background. Your subconscious mind stores every experience you've had since birth, every fear, every rejection, every praise, every wound. These experiences, especially the emotionally intense ones, create patterns that repeat themselves again and again, becoming the blueprint through which you interpret life. These patterns are not always rational or helpful. Often they are rooted in survival responses developed when you were vulnerable and powerless. As a child, you couldn't process complex emotions or make sense of trauma, so your subconscious did it for you. It recorded what felt unsafe and what earned love and acceptance. That internal programming is still active, still dictating how you see yourself and how you respond to the world. When you meet someone new and instantly feel uneasy, when you sabotage a relationship that was going well, when you avoid opportunities out of fear of failure, these are not conscious, logical decisions. They are automatic reactions from the subconscious mind. The way you respond to criticism, the way you deal with stress, the types of people you attract, even your self-worth are heavily influenced by the stories your subconscious carries. If your subconscious holds the belief that you're unworthy of love, it will find subtle ways to confirm that belief over and over, by drawing you toward unavailable partners, by misreading kindness as manipulation, or by pushing people away before they can leave. This isn't bad luck, it's a script being followed faithfully by a part of you that believes it is protecting you from pain. What's more dangerous is that these subconscious patterns feel normal. They feel like just how things are, because you've lived with them for so long. You don't question the discomfort, the anxiety or the repetitive pain because it's familiar. Familiarity becomes mistaken for truth, and that's how the subconscious keeps you trapped by making you believe that the prison you live in is the real world. You could have grown up in a household where love was inconsistent, where emotions were invalidated, or where silence was safety. As an adult, you may find yourself drawn to relationships that mimic those conditions, not because they feel good but because they feel familiar. Your subconscious doesn't care about happiness, it cares about survival and consistency. It repeats what it knows. This is why change is so difficult. You can't change your life by simply setting goals or reading positive affirmations. You must go deeper. You must identify the hidden programs that are running the show. Until you bring these unconscious beliefs to the surface, they will continue to write your story without your awareness. You'll keep ending up in the same places, feeling the same emotions, living the same pain, even when you think you're trying to move forward. Healing begins when you stop asking what's wrong with me, and start asking what part of me is trying to protect me, and why. When you look at your patterns with curiosity instead of judgment, you begin to unravel the truth of your story. You begin to realize that what you thought was weakness or failure was often a survival mechanism created by a younger, more vulnerable version of you. But realizing this is only the beginning. Once you identify the beliefs hiding beneath your actions like I'm not enough or I'll be abandoned if I speak up, you can begin to question their validity. You can ask yourself, is this belief true, or is it just something I learned to survive? In this questioning, your awareness expands. The subconscious starts to loosen its grip. You begin to write a new story, one that isn't defined by past pain, but by present intention. You begin to make conscious choices instead of unconscious reactions. This isn't an overnight process. It's slow, painful, and uncomfortable. But it is the only path to real transformation. You cannot fix what you don't understand, and you cannot understand what you refuse to look at. Facing your subconscious is not about blaming your past or getting lost in it. It's about reclaiming your power from the parts of you that were programmed without your permission. The more you become aware of these patterns, the more space you create between the stimulus and your response. And in that space lies your freedom. That's where the true author of your life begins to emerge, not the one that repeats but the one that creates. The power is not in controlling everything. It's in knowing yourself deeply enough to stop being controlled by what you don't see. Most people run from their emotional triggers. The moment something or someone causes a strong emotional reaction, anger, jealousy, shame, fear, they try to suppress it, justify it, or project it onto others. But triggers are not the problem. They are messages. They are portals to the parts of ourselves that remain unhealed and unconscious. If you find yourself constantly being triggered by the same situations or people, It's not because the world is attacking you, it's because your inner wounds are asking for your attention. The things that trigger you the most are often reflections of the very parts of yourself that you haven't made peace with. This is why two people can go through the same situation and have completely different emotional responses. It's not the event itself, it's what the event touches inside of you. When someone criticizes you and it feels like a deep personal attack, that's a sign that the criticism is brushing against an old wound. Maybe it's reminding you of being belittled as a child. Maybe it's bringing up a belief that you're not good enough. In that moment, the current event merges with the unresolved past, and the subconscious reacts as if the original wound is happening all over again. This is why emotional reactions can feel so disproportionate. You might know rationally that the situation isn't that serious, but your body and emotions react as if it is life or death. That's not weakness, that's trauma memory. That's the inner child screaming for validation, for recognition, for healing. The most important thing you can do when you're triggered is not to react outwardly, but to look inward. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Where have I felt this before? What belief is being threatened right now? These questions shift your attention from blaming the external world to understanding your internal world. When you approach your triggers with curiosity instead of shame, you begin to uncover the hidden layers of your psyche. You begin to see that your triggers are not enemies, they are guides. They point you to the exact place where healing is needed. It's also important to note that emotional triggers are not always negative. Sometimes they show up as intense attraction, admiration, or longing. If you feel triggered by someone else's confidence, success, or freedom, it may be because they are embodying a part of you that you've suppressed. The subconscious doesn't only bury pain, it also buries potential. The aspects of yourself that were rejected or shamed early on, your creativity, your voice, your power, often get locked away along with the wounds. Seeing someone else live those qualities can stir discomfort, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they remind you of what you've disconnected from within. Understanding your emotional triggers also helps you break free from patterns in relationships. Many people find themselves repeatedly attracting partners or friends who seem to push their buttons, but it's not random. These relationships are often mirrors. They reveal the unresolved dynamics from childhood: abandonment, control, neglect, emotional unavailability. The people we're drawn to and the conflicts we face with them are not just about compatibility, they're about consciousness. Your soul is always trying to bring hidden material to the surface so it can be healed, and relationships are one of the most powerful ways that happens. However, most people don't recognize this. They either blame others or shame themselves, never realizing that each emotional trigger is an opportunity. When you feel abandoned, it's a chance to meet the part of you that feels unworthy of love. When you feel angry, it might be pointing to a boundary that's being violated, or a need that's gone unmet for too long. When you feel anxious, it could be a sign that you're living out of alignment with your values. These insights don't come easily. They require brutal honesty and deep self-reflection, but they are the path to emotional freedom. Embracing your emotional triggers doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or tolerating toxic environments. It means taking full ownership of your internal reactions so that you're no longer at the mercy of the external world. It means developing emotional intelligence, self-compassion, and boundaries. When you learn to hold space for your emotional responses without judging them, suppressing them, or projecting them, you begin to integrate the parts of yourself that have long been fragmented. This inner integration creates wholeness. You stop fearing your emotions. You stop being hijacked by unconscious pain. You begin to respond rather than react, and in that shift you reclaim your power. Triggers that once controlled you now become opportunities for insight. People who once unsettled you become mirrors that help you grow. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your emotions and start recognizing yourself as the observer, the healer, the conscious participant in your own life. The hidden part of you that controls your life is not trying to destroy you, it's trying to protect you, even if its methods are outdated. Emotional triggers are the language through which this hidden part communicates. The more you listen, the more you understand yourself, and the more you understand yourself, the more control you gain over your life, not by force but by awareness. True power isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about facing them, feeling them, and learning from them. That's how you break the cycle, that's how you stop running, that's how you come home to yourself. Many of the decisions, reactions, and patterns you live out today are not coming from the conscious adult version of yourself. They're coming from a younger version of you, a version that was overwhelmed, neglected, criticized, or unseen. This is the part we often refer to as the inner child. It's not just a metaphor, it's a psychological reality. The inner child carries the emotional memory of your earliest experiences, and if those experiences were painful, confusing, or traumatic, that part of you remains frozen in time. While your body grows up, your emotional world can stay stuck in the past. That child becomes the one silently running the show behind the scenes, especially when life becomes stressful or uncertain. When you find yourself lashing out in rage, collapsing into helplessness, withdrawing in silence, or desperately seeking validation, chances are it's not your adult self speaking. It's your inner child, trying to get its needs met in the only way it knows how. Maybe as a child you learned that love had to be earned, so now you become a perfectionist. Maybe you were constantly criticized, so now you either criticize others or live in fear of being judged. Maybe you were abandoned, so now you cling too tightly or push people away before they can leave. These are not random personality traits, they are survival strategies born in childhood and carried into adulthood, unconsciously. The inner child doesn't communicate with logic, it speaks through emotions, body sensations, recurring dreams, or even sabotaging behavior. You might think you're making adult decisions, but if you haven't connected with your inner child, you're often just reacting based on unresolved emotional wounds. This is why people repeat the same mistakes over and over. They get into similar toxic relationships, they chase approval from authority figures, they fear rejection, or they struggle with self-worth. It's not because they're weak or broken, it's because a younger, wounded self is making decisions in an effort to feel safe or loved. Connecting with your inner child is not about reliving the past or blaming your parents forever. It's about recognition. It's about acknowledging that part of you that never got the love, security, or attention it needed and still longs for it. Healing begins when you stop ignoring this child and start listening. That means slowing down when you're overwhelmed and asking yourself, what am I really feeling right now? It means soothing yourself instead of shaming yourself. It means letting yourself cry, feel, grieve, things that your younger self wasn't allowed to do freely. Every time you validate your pain instead of minimizing it, you're doing what your caregivers maybe couldn't do. You're becoming the adult your younger self always needed. Many people avoid inner child work because they think it's too soft or too emotional. But the truth is, until you meet the child within, you'll always feel like something is missing. No amount of success, control, or praise can fill that hole. The unmet needs of childhood don't disappear, they evolve into adult dysfunction. That's why so many people who seem strong on the outside are silently struggling with shame, anxiety, or depression. The mask is grown up, but the wound is still a child's. When you start to build a relationship with your inner child, things change. You become more self-aware. You notice when your reactions are coming from an old wound. You learn to comfort yourself instead of seeking others to do it for you. You begin to separate your adult reality from childhood fear. That doesn't mean the pain vanishes overnight, but it means you stop being ruled by it. You stop letting it unconsciously dictate your choices, your relationships, and your identity. One of the most healing practices is simply imagining yourself as that child and speaking to them with love. Tell them, I see you, I know it hurt, I'm here now. This may sound small, but it is transformative. It rewires the brain. It shifts you from shame to compassion. It gives your inner child what they never got, safety, love, and acceptance. And when that child finally feels seen, they stop screaming for attention through chaos, addiction, or emotional outbursts. They can finally rest, and that's when the adult you can finally take the lead. Understanding that the inner child still holds the steering wheel helps you reclaim your authority. You're no longer driven by unconscious fear. You're no longer reacting from old pain. You start making conscious choices based on your values, not your wounds. You learn how to parent yourself with firmness and love, and in that process you begin to change, not just behaviorally, but at the core. You become whole. You stop needing others to heal you because you've become your own healer. You stop fearing abandonment because you've stopped abandoning yourself. You stop hiding behind masks because your inner child finally feels safe enough to be seen. This is the real work. This is what frees you from the grip of your past. Not pretending it didn't happen, but facing it with courage and love. So if your life feels stuck, chaotic, or confusing, go inward. Sit with the child you used to be. Ask them what they need. Listen closely, because the answers you're looking for, the ones about your patterns, your pain, your purpose, they've been waiting inside you all along, and the moment you choose to listen, everything begins to shift. The way you see the world is not purely based on facts or logic. It's filtered through a lens of unconscious beliefs that were formed long before you even had the ability to question them. These beliefs were shaped in childhood through repeated emotional experiences, family dynamics, cultural messages, and social conditioning. They became your inner programming, running quietly in the background and influencing everything: how you perceive yourself, how you relate to others, how much love, success, or happiness you believe you deserve. Most of these beliefs are so deeply embedded that you don't even recognize them as beliefs. They feel like truths. But they aren't truths, they're stories, and if you never stop to examine them, those stories will keep controlling your life without your awareness. For example, if you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, only given when you performed well, stayed quiet, or avoided conflict, you may have developed the unconscious belief that you're not worthy of love unless you prove yourself. So as an adult, you might become a chronic overachiever, a people pleaser, or someone who fears failure to an extreme degree. You might stay in toxic relationships just to avoid feeling unworthy again. All of this will feel natural, even logical, but underneath it is a belief you absorbed in your most vulnerable years: I am not enough as I am. These kinds of beliefs can shape your entire sense of identity. They can dictate how you handle opportunities, how you respond to setbacks, and what you think you're capable of. If you believe the world is unsafe, you will act with fear. If you believe you're not lovable, you will sabotage intimacy. If you believe you're powerless, you will not pursue your potential. This is not about positive thinking, it's about identifying the invisible rules you've been living by without even realizing it. And until those beliefs are brought into the light, they'll keep running your life from the shadows. The problem with unconscious beliefs is that they tend to confirm themselves. If you believe you're unlovable, you'll subconsciously attract or tolerate people who reinforce that belief. If you believe you're destined to fail, you'll avoid taking risks or give up too quickly, then use the outcome as evidence that you were right all along. This creates a self-fulfilling cycle where your deepest fears get validated and the old story gets stronger. It's not fate, it's not bad luck, it's programming, and it can be changed, but only if you're willing to question everything you think you know about yourself. The process starts with awareness. Begin noticing your automatic thoughts, especially in moments of stress, rejection, or vulnerability. What do you tell yourself when things go wrong? What do you assume about your worth when someone pulls away? What are the hidden assumptions behind the choices you make? These inner dialogues are clues pointing toward the beliefs that are shaping your reality. Write them down. Reflect on where they came from. Ask yourself if they're really yours, or if they were inherited from someone else's pain, fear, or limitations. Once you identify a limiting belief, challenge it. This doesn't mean lying to yourself with forced positivity. It means asking whether that belief is universally true. Is it always true that you're unworthy, or was that just something you were made to feel as a child? Is it true that vulnerability leads to rejection, or is that based on a few painful memories? When you begin to loosen the grip of those beliefs, you create space for new ones to form, ones rooted in truth, compassion, and empowerment rather than fear and shame. Reprogramming your unconscious mind takes repetition and emotional engagement. Affirmations alone are not enough unless you feel them in your body. This is why practices like meditation, journaling, somatic work, and inner child healing are powerful tools. They help bridge the gap between your conscious intentions and unconscious programming. You can't think your way into a new belief system. You have to embody it, feel it, and live it out until it becomes real for you. Another key element in transforming unconscious beliefs is surrounding yourself with people and environments that reflect the new story you want to live. If you're trying to believe you're worthy of love, but you stay in relationships that belittle or ignore you, your nervous system won't buy into the new belief. But if you start showing up differently, setting boundaries, and allowing in people who treat you with care, your inner world begins to shift. Your reality starts to match your intention. Changing unconscious beliefs doesn't happen overnight. These patterns were formed over years of emotional repetition, and it takes time to rewrite them. But every moment you become aware of an old belief and choose not to act on it, that's transformation. Every time you offer yourself compassion instead of criticism, that's reprogramming. Every time you take a risk in alignment with a new truth, you're breaking the old story's grip on your life. This is the real power of inner work. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about realizing you were never broken in the first place, just programmed to believe that you were. Your unconscious beliefs might have shaped your past, but they don't have to shape your future. You get to choose a new story. You get to take back the steering wheel. And when you do, you don't just change how you think, you change how you live.